Tremor.
Three Tremors.
Tremors, directed by Ron Underwood. Starring Kevin Bacon.
My name's James.
Fred Ward. Reba McEntire. And Michael Gross.
Tremor.
Welcome to Tremor Talk. I am your host, Luke Newman, and I am joined, as always, by Pete Dryden.
Hello.
And my beautiful wife, Marika.
Hi.
This is our first podcast, and usually we would use this time to sort of wrap up the week that was in the filmmaking world. But this week was a pretty unique week in the filmmaking world, and that's because today, Canon and Red announced 2 new cameras. And really what you can take away from it is that Canon sort of seems like they came away from it the losers in this.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes down to it, as far as price versus the specs, and the specs we'll get into a little bit more, but when you just look at it at a distance, you know, Canon came out with a $20,000 camera that does 1080p, and, you know, the frame rate options are pretty similar to what we have in our DSLRs right now, like the T2i. While the Scarlett came out with a $10,000 camera that does 4K, 2K at 60 frames per second. So from a glance, from a distance, it really looks like Red just came out of this on top, and it wasn't even close.
Kind of unexpectedly to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think going into it, just through various rumors and stuff we had heard, it had sort of seemed like Canon was going to announce a $10,000 camera that was going to be 4K, and all this other stuff. And so we'll get into all of that in a little more detail here. But first, I kind of just wanted to talk about something that I haven't heard discussed anywhere, and that's how well Red played this from a business standpoint. And the owner, the CEO, the founder of Red is actually founded Oakley. It's kind of
sunglasses?
Yeah, it's kind of weird that a guy could start up a company like that, you know, and build it up to be this huge corporation, and then start up another camera corporation, which is a pretty different field from sunglasses, and build it up to being this huge thing.
Well, what else has he done?
Well, I mean, those are the 2 like main accomplishments.
I know, but I'd never heard of him. I didn't know that he.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
sunglasses and cameras.
Unless you really looked for it, you wouldn't know that.
Right.
But you know, he's pretty like shrewd business guy. Like, you know, he's pretty like you know, Oakley's like the sports. It was the sports sort of sunglasses, and so he's, you know, he's pretty passionate and all this stuff. And
with sunglasses.
Well,
and
I mean,
cameras.
yeah, and Canon's a huge company, and they come out and they give a month in advance. They say, we're going to announce this huge camera. You know, it's going to be this global announcement in Hollywood, and they invited a bunch of filmmakers. You know, Ron Howard was there, and
Martin Scorsese.
Yeah,
Wait.
Scorsese.
I'm
Isn't
just
there
going to
a
go
T?
with that one.
There's no T in it. What? I thought it was okay.
No.
Where would the T be?
No,
Martin.
Well, I was
no
thinking,
T.
Martin.
There's a T
There's a
there.
T
There's
there.
yeah, in his name. Yeah.
Not in the last name.
Scorsese.
Anywho, you know, they're obviously appealing to the filmmaking crowd. And somewhere along the lines, the indie filmmakers, me included, somehow thought, oh, this camera's for me. And that kind of started in, you know, like blog places, you know, rumors being thrown out there like, oh, it's going to be a 4K camera for $10,000. Like, nobody came out and said that. That was just a rumor on a site.
Right.
And so, like, I was thinking today, like, I wouldn't even put it past the owner of Red to plant those rumors.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
And when you follow that down, it's like Canon makes this announcement a month ago. We're gonna announce this new camera, and then he announces that they're gonna announce their new camera 2 hours after Canon does. And so he sort of had the foresight to see that, well, all the indie filmmakers are going to read into this and think it's going to be, you know, like a camera for them. But the reality is that it's going to be $20,000 and way over most of our budgets. We'll come out of it disappointed, and then we'll all know, oh, hey, 2 hours later, Red's going to do something. And he knows now's the perfect time to throw out our indie filmmaker camera. And so people are pissed at Canon, and people are saying, well, Red's getting my money, all this stuff. When really you can't blame Canon for doing what they did. Like, it's a logical business move.
Yeah.
Well, but the thing is that they're marketing more towards the Hollywood.
Right, and
filmmakers.
that's what the smart thing. Like, it's a smart move by Canon. It wasn't a stupid move. It was kind of stupid to announce it a month beforehand and allow all this hype to kick in. And that's just sort of like they should have understood. That's the way things go with the internet. Is you announce something, and even within a day, stuff can be hyped up pretty quickly. And so it seems like they kind of underestimated that, and the whole indies thinking they had a part in it. I don't get how that started.
Yeah.
I don't get how that started at all.
You mean with Canon?
Yeah, because it's like, well, they announced that it was going to be in Hollywood a month ago, so I don't know, and they announced that it was going to be like cinema, and I think just we associate Canon with having cheap cameras. We just assumed, oh, it's going to be $8,000.
Yeah, achievable for
indie filmmakers.
Like all the other cameras.
Well, yeah, with all the other cameras that Canon makes. Canon doesn't have a camera, I don't think, right now that's over, like $7,000 or something. Yeah. But really, from just a business standpoint, it was smart of Canon to get in on the cinema action. It's like as of right now, they're just catering their DSLRs to indie filmmakers, but they're not really getting any action on big budget movies.
Right.
Where there's a lot of money there for big budget movies.
Yeah.
Red's getting all that, or film is still getting that. And so it makes sense for Canon to start getting into that.
Right, in a business move.
Right.
It's wise.
But they played it wrong. They played it very wrong in giving a month and sort of hyping up just to be a 2K camera. It's kind of like, eh.
But then again, I guess I haven't heard what any professional director, like made directors are saying.
Well, I mean,
what they think.
Ron Howard was at the event, and I don't know exactly what he said. I just assume he's on board, and it's hard because it's like, well, I'm assuming he's getting huge endorsements. So it's like, how much does he actually believe in the camera? I'm sure he wouldn't back something unless he believed in it. But the biggest one is Martin Scorsese. He has been, pretty vocal in being film until he dies.
Right.
It's kind of like Spielberg. Like Spielberg's quoted saying, like, I'm never going to go away from film no matter what. Like, there's just something you can't duplicate from film. But to have Martin Scorsese there should speak to what Canon's doing. It's just out of the indie filmmaker's budget. Like, that's all it comes down to. It's like, tonight, the filmmakers in Hollywood are happy.
Canon's happy.
Canon, I don't know, because I think Canon...
They knew, though. I mean, because they're a business, that, they must have known going into it that it's like, well, yeah, we're going to put a month, release this in a month. But they know that, certain crowds aren't going to go for it and certain ones are.
Right.
I'm sure they underestimated how much the indie filmmakers assumed it would be for them.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Their T2I crowd, that are looking to make a step up in camera. It's like, you're not going to step up to that. That's a $18,000 price jump.
Right.
You can make the 5D jump. The Scarlett jump is even a bit much. Like, Scarlett specs are like, they're throwing a lot into that camera, but it's still like, that's quite a bit to jump up from like a DSLR level. So right now, it's like, if you're a DSLR filmmaker, it's sort of like you should, unless you really want the camera, just stay put.
Right.
And that's, like with the announcement of these two cameras, they're both kind of out of your category. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's easy to be disappointed by Canon and what they did, but I think a lot of the hype that was generated for it to be a cheap camera geared towards us was generated by us. We should have known that it wasn't for us just by the way they promoted the event, that it's in Hollywood.
Right. So secret.
We're talking about, you can't really get any information on it unless you're invited. These filmmakers are going to be in attendance. It's basically like, okay, this is
it's a VIP thing.
They're making a push to cinema and to Hollywood. And that should say right there, like, this is kind of like out of the DSLR, the indie filmmakers, like, this isn't our game.
And really, I guess we should have seen that coming anyway, because since they don't have a camera in the market with Hollywood, it's like, well, why wouldn't they do it now?
Yeah, it'd be stupid to not get in the game.
Yeah.
And even if they piss off some of their DSLR users, which they won't, they already have, like, everybody's already bought a DSLR.
Mhm.
It's not like they're losing out on any sales. Everybody and their mom has a DSLR already.
Mhm.
It kind of just rounds out the whole business as far as it's just another option for cameras. Like that's really all it comes down to is Red's now a little more available to the indie filmmaker and Canon's more available to the higher end filmmaker.
Mhm.
Whereas before, like, big directors wouldn't think of filming a feature on a Canon. You know, all in all, I was ready to make a new purchase. You know, it was like
Yeah, you were.
I was looking at it and I really wanted to, weigh the prices and weigh the specs and make a purchase. And after tonight, it's like, after it's all said and done, I'm probably just going to stick with the 5D. The Scarlett looks awesome, but you have to be able to justify that jump in price to be able to get that much more work. And so it's sort of like, for us, it's like I don't see getting the Scarlett bringing me any more money than what a 5D could. Unless you're really set on getting a cinema camera, the DSLRs are still relevant. The T2i and the 5D are still relevant. It seems like that they're going to stay that way for a while just because they packed so many features into such a cheap camera.
Right.
So that's about as much DSLR film talk as I can handle. So now I'm going to totally do a 180. Okay. Tony Scott.
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
Not
no.
yet. Tony Scott. Okay. In what? 2009.
Brother of Ridley Scott.
Stop. In 2009, he comes out with what? Taking a Pelham 123.
Starring John Travolta.
Denzel Washington.
He comes out with Taking a Pelham 123, which is a train movie. A movie about I don't even know. Did you see it?
Mm-hmm.
What's it about?
Some guys, like John Travolta plays a villain, and he takes hostages on a train.
So it's not a runaway train?
Runaway train.
Stop.
Okay. No, it's more of a planned
Heist.
Yeah, like a heist terrorist kind
Either
of thing.
way, it's a train movie with Denzel Washington, directed by Tony Scott.
Right. Just like
Yes.
Unstoppable.
Unstoppable, 2011. So within 2 years, it might have even been a year and a half.
Uh-huh.
Tony Scott, I think they were his 2 consecutive movies.
Yeah.
So he goes from...
He's big on trains, dude.
That's
And
what,
Denzel, obviously.
Yeah, because they also made Man on Fire.
But-
Also starring Denzel Washington.
But here's what I don't get. Is as a director...
Dakota Fanning. Christopher Walken.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the color correction in that movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice
Fun.
and Man on Fire.
That's a cool movie.
Nice and desaturated.
Yeah.
It's pretty contrasty, too, from what I remember.
Oh, yeah.
Should watch
Maybe it
that.
was filmed on Panavision. Anyways, back on subject.
Mm-hmm.
As a director in Hollywood, you'd think you'd want to be... you'd want to change up what movies you do, from movie to movie. Like, let's say Spielberg goes from Saving Private Ryan to War of the Worlds. It's like war movie to
Aliens.
to an alien
1983.
movie to like a romantic comedy. Like he makes it a point to like switch up the type of movie he does.
Uh-huh.
Tony, on the other hand, goes from train movie to train movie, Denzel Washington to Denzel Washington in the same like year and a half.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
I want to know the process behind that. Like, did he, like, when they're on the set of Taking a Pelham 123, did he like get
I
together?
really
with,
like trains.
Did he? Yeah, he got together with Denzel and like, now I've been thinking a lot about trains. Obviously, Denzel's like, yeah.
Yeah. They both really like trains.
Yeah. They'd have to. So they have like these long discussions about trains. Well, what if?
Yeah.
And then they get on the idea of, well, we got to do another one like right away. Like I haven't had my fill of trains. So, they get together and they do Unstoppable, and it's like, I just don't get how you justify that choice as a director.
I don't know, though,
No.
because I kind of wonder if, for Tony Scott's benefit of the doubt, like if there's some sort of contract thing or something that it was like,
You got to
well,
do 2 train movies.
no, like he had told one company, like, I'll make this movie, and the funding hadn't gone through, and then the funding went through for
Yeah.
both of them.
Yeah, because I do know that movie was slated to be directed by Martin Campbell in 2005.
Martin Campbell. Talk a little bit about how you like Martin Campbell, Luke.
Well,
MC.
Martin Campbell is the director of, let's go ahead and start with
No Escape.
1994.
GoldenEye.
Ray Liotta. GoldenEye. Both, and No Escape, you'd have to watch it. It's a little outdated, but there's some good scenes. Lots of fights on top of high places, which is Martin Campbell's trademark.
Yeah.
GoldenEye, Mask of Zorro, which, don't even get me started. Best trailer of all time. Then, let's see. He did like the sequel to Zorro, which was
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I mean, he did Zorro, he did Mask of Zorro, and he did the James Bond movie, the first James Bond with Daniel Craig.
Oh yeah, Casino Royale.
Casino Royale, which the opening scene of that goes down as like, if you want an action director, just watch the opening scene of Casino Royale.
That's in like, top 10 for me best openings for movies.
Ugh.
Where it keeps you going the whole time, like, man, this just keeps going.
And the rest of the movie doesn't live up to it necessarily, but just that opening, it's like only Martin Campbell could pull that off. Pete and I tend to have long discussions on crappy directors from the 90s.
Very
And
long
80s and
discussions.
70s.
What were we talking about? Tony Scott.
John Carpenter.
Back to Tony
Back to
Scott.
Tony Scott.
Here's a funny scenario. Tony and Ridley Scott, the Scott family, at the Christmas get-together.
Yeah.
The mom and dad, if they're still alive. Ridley, what movies do you have going on this year? Well, Mother, I did Robin Hood and
Ridley's resume
Yeah.
speaks volumes of
I did
all over the board.
I did a modern take on Robin Hood, and I did,
Body of Lies.
No, that would be Tony's voice. And then Tony, what did you do this year? Unstoppable.
I mean, it's like all Tony Scott movies to me is like
Cool color correction.
they're entertaining, cool shots, good action, but they're not always like Ridley Scott does like much more solid movies where it's like the story's good.
Can you imagine them as brothers when they were kids?
Growing up.
Yeah, like making movies together. Tony always wanting, let's do a train.
Oh my God.
Ridley, let's put a train in
And then
it.
Ridley, no, let's do aliens. Speaking of directors, let's talk a little bit about Pete's favorite director. Well, no, not your favorite director.
One
but
of them.
Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
His new movie he's working on,
Mm-hmm.
Diago Unchained. Can you maybe take that purring kitten away from the mic?
No.
Just he's a little loud in our headphones here.
No, he's not.
Tarantino's new movie, Diago Unchained, is it's been talked about for a little while, but it's a 1800s or so movie about slavery, and it's about a slave owner, a really bad slave owner, played by Leonardo DiCaprio.
Right.
And
Yeah, dude.
that's just sort of like what I'm excited about for this movie is Leonardo DiCaprio in a Tarantino movie.
As a villain.
Yeah, as a villain. And he's never really played a straight-up villain. I mean, people say Blood Diamond, but he wasn't a villain.
Not like sinister.
No, he was like, and he ended up being kind of good in the end. Didn't he, like, sacrifice his life for the guy or whatever? But
who cares?
But anyways, Leonardo DiCaprio in a Tarantino movie, awesome.
Yeah.
Or no. Let's rephrase that. Leonardo DiCaprio as a villain would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But Leonardo DiCaprio as a villain in a Tarantino movie is like, I'm going to see it just for that performance.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention some of the other actors in it, like they haven't worked with Tarantino before, like Jamie Foxx.
Mm-hmm.
Kurt Russell's in it, but he's worked like it was going to be Kevin
Yeah.
Costner, and that might have been interesting. But
Right.
it brings up the question.
Kerry Washington. She hasn't worked with him before.
I don't know who that is.
Kerry Washington in The Last King of Scotland.
Didn't see it.
Really?
No.
Good.
Yeah.
But is that
Forrest Whitaker won an
Forrest-
Oscar.
Yeah. And it looked too artsy fartsy. Like
It's good.
it looked like it looked like King's Speech, which I'm glad I watched King's Speech, but
Mm-hmm.
you got to be in the right mood to watch that kind of movie. Wintertime, bored, not wanting to do much else.
That's true.
Yes.
But it begs the question, of what actors would you like to see in a Tarantino movie? Because Leonardo DiCaprio has to be at the top of the list.
Yeah, for sure.
But
and Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, right. And that'll be, he's, I don't know. People are pretty high on him. I think he's pretty cool, but I don't know. He doesn't do much for me.
I like him. I don't like all of his roles, but I like most of them where it's, they're different.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking of Inception, and then like Inception, it was like, he doesn't do anything.
Yeah, well,
his character was just flat.
Right. He played the role though. I guess he's one of those actors that's when he's in it, it's like, well, he's good. He doesn't have a lot of like range like DiCaprio, but he plays his role and
yeah. But okay, so what actors would you guys want to see in a Tarantino movie?
DiCaprio's always been one.
Yeah. Like think about like Johnny Depp in a Tarantino movie.
That would be one of those things. It's the same way with DiCaprio, where before I knew what exactly the role was that DiCaprio was going to play in Tarantino, because it was like, well, it's got to be a pretty like unique role, because I know DiCaprio and I know Johnny Depp so well from
just
different
imagine
roles.
if you switch out the German guy in Inglourious Bastards with Johnny Depp. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I can see Johnny Depp doing that role.
Yeah.
And that's something else too. Like we've talked about this before. Like Johnny Depp, he gets praised as being a great actor, but it's hard to pinpoint. But I've never seen him take a really different role character-wise. They're always the same sort of character.
I don't know though. I mean, there are a lot of like similar characters.
That's what I mean. They're like.
But then there's also ones. The thing with me is like his characters are always very timid.
Right.
They're always very timid. Where it's like, well, there's only been a few where he plays kind of like a badass, and even then he has his
soft-spoken a little bit.
Yeah, or he has his limits.
Right.
You know.
And really, the Rum Diary just sort of pounded that home to me. Like another Johnny Depp movie where he's Johnny Depp. Like. He's praised as this really good actor, and he's had some really different roles, but they're all like, it's still Johnny Depp. Like even Jack Sparrow, it's like
it's Johnny Depp.
Yeah, it's Johnny Depp.
I think what it is though with him is that he plays those roles so well.
Yeah,
where it's fun, he's likable, he's always like someone that you can root for. Of like, I like Johnny Depp.
But here's the
thing. Plus
thing.
He's good looking, so.
Here's the thing though, is Leonardo DiCaprio doesn't do that. You don't just see a role. It's like, oh, that's just Leonardo DiCaprio being Leonardo DiCaprio. Like Leonardo DiCaprio chooses different roles, right? And so in that way, it's like, well, you almost got to put Leonardo DiCaprio in a class above Johnny Depp.
I would.
Yeah. Which is just weird because Johnny Depp gets so much praise for being a really good actor. So it's almost like Leonardo DiCaprio is just in a class all his own.
I think he's up there with, because he's still young,
How old is he? Like,
I don't know. He's like 35 or something.
Tarantino's starting to get a little more accepted because of Inglourious Bastards. For whatever reason, it's sort of people who normally just kind of looked at him like, he's too weird of a director. Or his movies are too like I'd never watch him.
I think what it was is they're too. Like after doing Kill Bill, they were like too stylized.
Right.
Where it's like, yeah, they're well done movies, but they're too stylized. And then with Inglourious Bastards, it's like that's more cinematic. Like,
right.
That's
but it still had Tarantino touch.
Oh yeah.
But what was good about Inglourious Bastards is it seems like he found the right like level in between of like doing what he wants to with the weird stuff, but also like, well, I've got to appeal to everybody. Like I want to start appealing to everybody, but still. And it seems like I don't know what Diago Unchained's going to be like, but the story is like he's starting to go through these different sort of like time periods and sort of making movies that appeal to a broader audience, where it's just like, how many people does Death Proof appeal to?
Well, yeah, but I mean, I guess that's the thing though, is like, that's one of the reasons why I like Tarantino is like with Death Proof, it was for his love of grindhouse movies.
Right.
So it's like, well, then it's like his own version of grindhouse movies, where Kill Bill was the same way with old samurai movies, where it was just a retake on what he likes.
And so I
about
guess
them.
he has been doing this for a little while with Kill Bill and his love for samurai movies, but I guess the Nazi one is just one that rang true with more people. I think the Western will ring true with a lot of people too. It just seems like Leonardo DiCaprio will appeal. Like, it'll probably be the highest grossing Tarantino movie ever, which I don't know what his is right now. Do you? Probably one of the Kill Bills, or
Yeah, I don't really know.
maybe Inglourious Bastards, because that had Brad Pitt and it was a Nazi movie. Came out around Christmas, I think.
Everyone loves Nazis.
No, actually, everyone hates Nazis, Pete. Any other actors you'd like to see in a Tarantino film?
Meryl Streep.
Yeah, but I don't even like Meryl Streep.
I like Meryl Streep.
You don't like Meryl Streep?
Why don't you like Meryl Streep?
She's a good actress.
She's a great actress.
You just don't like her roles?
I don't like her. No, I like her roles. I just don't like her.
Why? 'Cause she's old.
She's not pretty.
I just don't like her.
So there's a funny little story that happened the other day. Pete comes over, and that's not that funny. I was going to talk about you wearing your slippers over the house, but then it's like, I do that too. Pete and Marika and I just bought these slippers, and they're amazing and comfortable.
Coastal Farms.
Marika and I are actually wearing them right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Pete's not, but Pete came over, and I opened up the door, and I looked down, and he's just wearing slippers, and it's like raining outside. And it's like, all right.
They're comfy.
Come on in.
Yeah.
Don't get your slippers wet.
It doesn't matter where you go. They're comfy.
That's why I'm wearing them. I wore them to get the mics tonight.
Yeah.
Wore him on a date.
I wore them on a date.
Yellow.
Out to dinner. Yeah.
Did you really wear them on a date?
So for all of you fans of our video work on YouTube, I just wanted to let you know that we're currently wrapping up the second episode of Batman.
Yeah, dude. That's great.
It outdoes the first episode as far as humor, just like by 20 times. Because the first episode was, we did some story stuff. We built up some characters, the Nutria King, but this one's like all comedy.
This is just Batman at his finest, kind of chemistry between him and people.
And which is not good.
No,
there's
not
no
at all.
chemistry.
No.
And we introduced
Just awkwardness.
Yeah, we introduced Marika's character in this one, and there's some back and forth between Pete, Marika, and I, and it's just super awkward. And
great.
Batman's a moron, but Gordon's trying to keep it all together.
He's constantly trying.
Keep checking Newman Films Facebook for updates on podcasts. We'll be doing these weekly, and they'll be coming out on Fridays. So thank you for listening to Tremor Talk, and I hope to see you back here next week.